Okay, let's unpack this. Today, we're doing a deep dive into something, well, a lot of you might be facing. Navigating that first interview, part of a big language test.
Uh-huh. Specifically, part one of the IELTS speaking test.
Right. And our mission really is to pull out the most important strategies, maybe some surprising ideas that can help you really shine in just this section.
Yeah,
It's amazing how small tweaks can make a huge difference in showing what you know.
indeed. And this part, it focuses entirely on questions about you, right? Your life, experiences, day-to-day stuff.
Mhm.
And the source material we looked at makes this really interesting point because it's all stuff. Only, it should actually be easier to give detailed answers.
Okay, that makes sense.
But that brings up the big question,
Uh,
how do you give the right kind of detail? And maybe, like, how much detail is enough?
okay, so if the goal is speaking, what's the golden rule for how much to say? Our sources seem pretty clear on the first big strategy. It
Mm-mm.
sounds obvious, maybe. You just have to speak. I mean, it's a speaking test. Silence, or just saying yes or no, that's not going to work.
Exactly. That's the absolute baseline. You can't show fluency if you're not, well, producing language.
Right.
So the core guidance we found says you should aim for, say, 2 to 3 complete sentences for each answer, always adding a bit more detail, something specific.
Not just one sentence, then.
Preferably not. Think of it like painting a quick picture for the examiner, adding a little color.
Okay, detail. Let's make that concrete. The source had a really good example, didn't it?
Yeah.
About where you're from.
It did, yeah. So if they ask, where are you from? Just saying, I am from Canada, that's marked down as pretty weak.
Too short.
Too short, doesn't show much vocabulary or sentence structure, really, no specifics.
Okay, so what's the better version?
Well, the source gives this example. I'm from Ottawa, Canada. Ottawa is the nation's capital city and is located in the midst of 3 beautiful rivers, the Ottawa, Rideau, and Gatineau, and it has a population of about 1,000 people.
Wow, okay. That's quite specific. Rivers, population.
Hey, you get a much better sense of the person's ability to elaborate, to use descriptive words, right? It shows off language skill, not just the basic fact.
It does, yeah. It also makes you wonder if they're testing your geography knowledge.
Well, no, it's definitely the English.
So besides where you from, what other kinds of topic areas should you be ready for?
The source lists the usual suspects, really. Things about you, your work or studies, family, hobbies,
Right.
local transport, travel, culture, music, food, entertainment. And always your likes and dislikes, but crucially, why? They want that reason.
The why is important.
Always. It prompts more language. The idea is to keep it to familiar stuff where you can
Yeah.
expand comfortably.
Now, here's something I found really fascinating, the view from the other side of the table. The examiner's perspective.
Oh, yeah.
Most people probably see the examiner as, I don't know, this strict judge just waiting for you to mess up.
Right. That's the common perception.
But our sources suggest something different.
They really do. And this is like a key piece of information most people miss. The examiner has a job to do. Ask 8 to 12 questions, cover at least 3 topics, all in about 5 minutes, working off these set topic cards.
Okay.
But here's the kicker. The examiner records the whole thing because their performance is reviewed too.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. So they actually want the exam to go smoothly. They want you to speak so they can assess you properly. They're not trying to trip you up.
That completely changes how you might feel walking in, doesn't it? Knowing they're sort of on your side in a way.
It should. It really should take some pressure off. They need you to perform so they can do their job well.
Okay, that's huge. Now, speaking of what you actually say, the source touched on this interesting point about truth versus just speaking.
Yes, the philosophical bit.
Right. It says basically, this is a speaking test, so you have to speak. Whether it's the absolute truth or not, well, it matters that you speak, though it adds, many people believe it is easier to speak the truth, however.
It's a language test, not a lie detector, right?
Exactly.
So while the source does note that telling the truth often helps things flow better because you're not trying to invent and translate at the same time,
Mm-hmm.
the main goal is showing your English ability. So, if a tiny tweak to reality helps you use better vocabulary or a more complex sentence, the focus is the language.
So don't get hung up on perfect accuracy. Get hung up on speaking well.
Pretty much. Within reason, of course. But yes, fluency and range over absolute factual correctness. And if we sit back for a second, these strategies, they're not just about passing a test, are they?
No, not at all.
They really underline how important it is in any situation, not just to give an answer, but to actually engage,
Yeah.
provide context.
Right. It's about taking a simple fact and turning it into something more, well, informative,
Yeah.
a richer story that's useful everywhere.
Definitely. Job interviews, presentations, even just chatting with someone new, moving beyond just the bare minimum.
Yeah, making it a real interaction, not just question, answer, question, answer. So thinking about all this, what really stands out to you about how just adding that bit of the right kind of detail can change everything, not just in a test, but, in any conversation?